Hey Stampin' friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Lori Staley, Addicted Stamper with Stampin' Up, and I'm a US-based independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. I so appreciate you stopping by today for another Make It Monday. I do these videos every Monday, and I love coming on here and getting to spend a little bit of time with you doing what I love most, which is stamping, and sharing some fun projects with you. And today I have a really good one for you. It is a fun fold, and I'm excited to share that with you. If you enjoyed today's video, please make sure to give me a thumbs up, maybe share the video, and also if you're not already a subscriber, I would love to have you join our group. So just hit that subscribe button and mark that bell or ring that bell so that you're notified when the next video goes live. In addition, I have an active Facebook presence on my Stampin' Up page, Lori Staley Stamping Up Demonstrator. I'm actually live on there 3 times a week. Tuesdays at 2 is usually a tip or a technique. And then Thursday mornings at 10 is what we call coffee and cards. Take a coffee break with me. Come, I'll show you some really fun projects. And then Sunday night is my mystery stamping night where we do stamp together if you like. You are also welcome just to come hang out, chat with us, enjoy the projects that I create. So that one is at 8 o'clock at night. I do send a supply list out on my business page Sunday mornings so that if you do want to stamp with me, you have the opportunity to gather the materials, cut the cardstock, etc. that you will need for that evening. So make sure you check that out if you hop over there to my business page. All right, let's start with today's project. So this is such a cute set, Nothing's Better Than. And of course we have cookies, we have chocolate, we have cocktails, and we have coffee. I mean, who can live without coffee? I used to be able to, not so much anymore. But so it's a cute little card on the front, but then when you open it up, the cuteness magnifies. How about that? We have a little pop-up box of cookies in here, all ready for you to eat with your morning coffee, perhaps. So this is what we're going to make today, and then stick around until the end. I have some additional projects that I'd love to share with you. All right, let me grab my envelope of material. So we are actually going to start with just a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of basic white cardstock scored at 4 1/4. So that measurement alone would make you believe that this is going to be our card base. But you can see that in this particular case, we actually put a wrap around it. How about that? It's a little different, huh? So we're going to crease that with our bone folder. I am going to pull in my paper cutter because in order to get the box, we need to do just a couple of cuts. And I'm going to put my cardstock in with the fold. Now, everybody says I use my Stampin' Up trimmer upside down, and maybe I do, but this way works for me. Whichever way works for you, whether it's at the top or the bottom, you're going to put the fold against the ledge, right? We are going to measure this at 1.5, and I love that our trimmer has measurements that go up to 1.5 on the opposite side of the paper cutter, right? So our first cut is going to be lined up at 1.5 here, and we're going to cut up to 2 inches. And that's really important. If you cut further, you run the risk when you close the card of this pop out being too far over and it ends up extending beyond the edge of your card, and we certainly don't want that. So just 2 inches. And then we're going to move this down to 2.5, okay, which is going to give us our second cut. And that is also going to come up to that 2-inch mark. And again, the numbers are printed right along. The ruler here is on the edge of the arm of the paper cutter, and there is a line that goes across the blade. So you can align the line on the blade with the 2-inch mark on the arm. See how we did that? Looks pretty good to me. Now you do have to press a little bit harder, and you know what? I'm going to put that back in there and run that again because you are going through 2 layers of cardstock. So make sure you give good pressure on that. All right, I think we got it that time. Yes, we did. So we can move this out of the way. This is all the cutting that's required to create this cute little piece, at least with the paper cutter. And then we're going to fold this. Now, you could have scored that on the paper cutter if you want to be exactly precise. I think that we can do it this way, and it'll work out just fine. Let me find that bone folder that ran away on me. Do you do that, guys? Do you lay your supplies down and then somehow they magically disappear on your table, right? That's exactly what just happened here. Oh, I found it. All right, so we're just gonna pull this all down, make it nice and even, and there we go. When we open this up, then, we want to make sure that this pops that way. And then we're going to do one more crease with that bone folder. And you don't have to worry about these measurements if you think you want to make this card later. I will put all of the measurements in the description below. Okay. So there is the beginning of our box. The next thing I'm going to do before we get any farther is I'm going to stamp cookies right down here along the bottom edge of what will be the front of the box, and I'm doing that in early espresso. I do tend to use my grid paper to try to keep me somewhat straight. So I'm going to line that up. And I'm going to keep that low so that our box flap doesn't cover it up. You could make this coffee cups coming out of your box. You could, of course, make it cocktails or chocolates. Chocolates would be really cute as well. Whatever you want, because the stamp set, as I said, that I'm using is Nothing's Better Than. So it addresses all of those, right? And has the cute little images to go with each one. Of course, I'm using the Love You Better Than dies that coordinate with the Nothing is Better Than. So you have your cookies, your chocolates, your cocktail, your coffee cup, and then all of your words. Love You More Than is one of the words in there. And then for those cute little sprinkles, I used the, actually those sprinkles are on the stamp. For these sprinkles, I used the sprinkle stamp from Sweet Ice Cream. And I also used, of course, the circle dies, as you can see. So those are the dies and stamps that we used on this project. Now, I also have 2 more pieces of basic white that we're going to create the flaps with. So I put my paper cutter away just a little too soon. These are 1 inch by 2, and we are going to give it a score line at 3/4. That's going to be the flap over. Oops, not the cutting blade. Move that right out of the way. That's going to be the fold over so that we can put this on the inside of our box and have those flaps. I'm going to grab my snips because we are going to do a little. And that bone folder again. All right, so we're going to just miter these corners just a little bit. There's flap 1. And there's flap 2. Get rid of that. I'm going to use Tombow liquid glue so that I can get a thin line of glue on this flap that's going to hold our box in place. All of a sudden I thought I cut the miters going the wrong direction, but I'm all good. There we go. bring this back up, line the edge up with the fold. No, I did cut them backwards, didn't I? I sure did. Well, we're just going to have some interesting looking flaps on this box. Go the other way with your mitered corners. And then this one's going to go on this side. And you just have to hold them there for a beat so that that glue grabs a hold. And then, of course, the Tombow wants to stick to my fingers, so everything becomes sticky and tacky. Okay, I think that's good. I'm going to grab my chamois and try to get that glue off my hands, otherwise everything will be sticking. All right, I think we're good there. And we're going to go ahead and do the inside stamping as well while we're here. We are going to put on there, and I'm pretty sure tomorrow is as well. So we're going to be eating cookies today and tomorrow. And we're just going to drop that right here, right at the corner edge of the box. Okay. And then we're going to add a few of our cookies that have the bite taken out of them. There we go. So, other than putting our cookies in the box, we have this portion done. And we'll come back and do that in just a minute. Let's go ahead and work on the card front. So, of course, I used that same cookie on the front that I used inside the card to create the background. One thing about this Nothing is Better Than stamp set is it has some nostalgic look to it, and those little asterisks that I used in between the cookies helps to bring that nostalgia into your project. So I'm just randomly creating my background. Always off stamp your edges. It actually looks more like designer paper that way than if you just keep everything in the center, right? Now, why did I close that? I need that still. We're going to go ahead and put those little asterisks or stars in, if you will. This is the tiniest little stamp, but it's so cute. And it helps fill that space. And I'm even off stamping with those. Just catching the edge, if you will. I think that looks pretty good. While we've got that ink out, we're going to go ahead and stamp Today is A and Kind of Day. Make sure my stamps are straight. And I will often stamp on my grid paper to make sure, yes, in fact, my stamp is straight. We're going to put one more cookie on here. Now this cookie I already stamped, and what I did is I stamped it in the early Espresso, and then I used the two-step stamp, the fill stamp, if you will, in Crumb Cake, but I off-stamped the Crumb Cake and stamped it in there to fill it in, and I think it makes it look just a little bit lighter, so more like an actual cookie would be. And then I used the dies to cut that out. That's going to go in there and get popped up. But what I also did is, so I would have those crumbs, if you will, I did go ahead and stamp it with the actual stamp as well. And that needs some ink taken off of it. What do you think? We're going to bring in the chamois and get that off the block. Because sure enough, I would absolutely transfer that ink on my block. Okay, so there's that. And then we will pop this up on top. Okay, and you'll never see that, but it gives us the crumb effect there. And today is a cookie kind of day. That did not go well, did it? Let's try that again. I love that our paper has two sides to it. What do you guys think? And I know people sometimes laugh when you say that, like, doesn't all paper have two sides to it? No, it really doesn't. Oh, that looks better already, doesn't it? And then we'll just come back in and put that last cookie in. There we go, much better. Okay. That's just going to simply get layered onto the largest circle from the circle dies in the early espresso. And that will get mounted flat because we're going to pop the cookie that we created in the center. Okay. We are going to add just a couple little extra asterisks on our basic white. Clean that stamp up. I always do things in odd numbers, kind of like in nature with gardening and things. They always tell you if you're adding flowers, you do 3s, 5s, 7s, but never even numbers. So I always try to do things in odd numbers. And I try, if I'm doing embellishments or even something like a small stamped image, I try to make sure I'm going somewhat in a triangular shape. Just, it adds more interest, I think. So this is my overlay. Of course, this is going to get mounted on the front. This is a 5 1/4 by 8 1/4, scored at 4 1/8. And again, you don't have to worry about the measurements because they will be below in the description of this video. This is going to get mounted here. So here's where you can see that, of course, the piece that we started with is slightly bigger because it was cut at 8 1/2 by 5 1/2. And we have that overlay effect by just wrapping it in the early espresso. I'm going to go ahead and stick this in. And I know we haven't done the cookies yet. That's coming. I'm going to do one side at a time. I'm trying to center that. I kept my adhesive further in around the outside edge than I normally would, right? Because this is short. So if you want to be 100% sure that you don't have adhesive extending out and beyond, then simply put your adhesive on your early espresso, which is what I usually do. The piece that I'm taping to the project is the piece that I put the adhesive on. Yeah, we're okay. Just like that. All right, so do not, make sure you don't get any adhesive stuck in the inside there. If you do, by chance, put some adhesive in there, I think I have just a little bit. You can take your embossing buddy or something like that and just put a little bit on that. It won't show, and it helps to take the sticky away so you won't have any issues. All right, we can go ahead and pop this guy on here now because we've got everything mounted from the front, and I'm just going to use a dimensional for that. Center that on our early espresso, and then pop this on there. Don't you think that looks like an actual chocolate chip cookie? My husband will want to eat the cookies. All right, so then I did more circles, more layering circles. I think I did 3 of each one, and I said earlier that I used that sprinkle stamp from Sweet Ice Cream. Okay, that's as close as I could get to mirror or mimic the actual stamped image. And I also brought in a little crumb cake on these cookies. Okay. Doesn't really want to lay flat and open because of that fancy fold, but maybe we can leave it sit like that. All I did is I took my blending brush, which aren't these fabulous guys. I think these brushes are amazing. And I got some ink, some crumb cake ink loaded. So you can even use these as we would our sponges or your sponge daubers, and just flick the edges of your cookies to give it a little bit more dimension and depth. And if it gets a little too dark, you can even come in there and add a little color to the center of the cookie. But if you have a cookie lover in your life, this would make a perfect card. Or of course you could adapt it to have chocolates coming out of the box, all of that. So there's the 2, that's how I did those. And then I went ahead and I did the other ones prior to coming on with y'all. So we are going to put some of these cookies together. Now the other trick here is we have to make sure that our cookies stay within the perimeters of the card, right? So before I tape anything down, I'm going to make sure that I'm not extended beyond, and I'm good there. So we can go ahead and put our adhesive here and place this stack of cookies in our box. There we go. We're good. See, it's nothing showing on either side. And then we're going to do the next one. I'm not going very high with the adhesive because I don't want it to extend beyond what I'm taping it to. I want to make sure that I don't have something that's going to cause the card to stick closed. And we're going to give that one a little bit of an angle as well. And we're going to be good with that one too. So we can go ahead and add adhesive here. And pop that into the box. So cute little bakery box filled with cookies. And there we have it. What do you think, guys? If you like this, please give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you'd fill your bakery box with, whether it be cookies or chocolate or some other goodie that you might have a stamp for. And come back next Monday and join me for another Make It Monday. I do want to show you these other cards. I offer ordering special when you place a minimum $25 product order on my website, addictedstamper.stampinup.net. June host code through the end of June is right here. You can earn these card kits. So these are my June Just cards. If you're local to me in Pennsylvania, then you would get a porch pickup option, which would make the card kits completely free. Otherwise, I do ask for postage if you're long distance, and that usually is about $3.25. But aren't they pretty? And they are done so that really the most that you have to add, I think with the exception of this particular project, is a greeting. Everything is die cut, embossed, punched, all of that for you. You just have to add your different greetings. Here I did use the seaweed. Here this is a stamped pansy, but we have pansies on some of the designer series paper. So if you earn this kit, then you would get the a die cut pansy rather than having to stamp it, just in case you wouldn't have the pansy bundle. But those are the card kits. There's 5 here, and they do come with envelopes as well, and an emailed PDF that I would send out to you. So keep that in mind. Minimum $25 product order. This host code is good through the end of June, and I do this every month. So next month there'll be another 5 cards, right, that you can earn with a minimum $25 product order. Plus, if it's your first order with me, I also send you a welcome gift. So there you go, guys. There is our fun fold with Nothing is Better Than, a box of cookies for your friend or loved one, and I appreciate you stopping by today. Have a great week, and I hope to see you next Monday for another Make It Monday. Thanks. Bye.